The way the season has turned for Manchester United and the frustrations that we do see at Jose Mourinho or in his demeanor, we do see that many people have been asking Xhaka, is his time at Man United coming to an end? Could he be possibly leaving at the end of the season? Well, he says it's all garbage news, but again, his demeanor tells me something different. Xhaka, what do you think? Is everything finally getting to him?
I think a lot of things are getting to him. And to answer your first question, I don't think Jose Mourinho will leave Manchester United at the end of this season, certainly not by his own accord. But I do feel that things are getting to him.
He's a little more snappish now.
He's very snappy, and in the past he's had a lot of things, particularly during his time in English football, where the media can be so much more intrusive than elsewhere in Europe. And he has been a media darling up until his arrival at Manchester United. Now, all of a sudden, the expectation is different. The rhetoric is different, both in terms of performances, not just in terms of how they get results, but their performances during the course of the 90 minutes. And I just feel that Manchester United are a different animal in that respect, different from what he'd become used to at Chelsea.
But how so? Because we know that they're a big club, but he's no stranger to big clubs at Chelsea, at Real Madrid as well, where we started to see again similar things now. So he knows that this is par for this course when you're used to managing these top teams.
His time in England is totally different at Manchester United. And I've made this comparison all the time. He arrives at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea hadn't won a title in 50 years. He comes, he delivers multiple titles. He delivers a lot of silverware in his first spell, and he automatically becomes a darling of the Chelsea faithful. He then steps away after having his issues with Abramovich. Wasn't the first manager, wasn't the last. But I still feel that he is held very dearly, or had been held very dearly, by the Chelsea fans. So when he comes back, he's embraced accordingly. But you saw some of that pressure at Real Madrid. At Inter, it was a different remit in that Inter had been doing well in Serie A, multiple titles themselves, but he delivered in Champions League. Goes to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid, there is just one bar you have to clear, and that is Barcelona. Everything else does not matter.
Albeit a very tall bar.
A very tall bar. And you started to see some of those pressures, some of those frustrations spill out. The touchline incident with now deceased Tito Villanova immediately springs to mind. Some of his rhetoric during his time in Madrid kind of mirrors what you're seeing now at Old Trafford. But then, as I mentioned, comes back to Chelsea, things go a little bit pear-shaped. He finds himself at Manchester United and trying to rescue that reputation. But as much as he may have gotten results, as much as he won silverware last season, he continued to get criticism, not just from the media, who, as I mentioned, he'd been the darling of, but most notably from Manchester United past players who'd done so much, who are held in even higher esteem by Manchester United fans. And I think all those pressures coming from all those different angles are starting to tell, because he has gotten snappy. He hasn't been able to have his way with the media as he'd done in the past. And having spoken to him in person, having dealt with him and done interviews with him in person, where he was so likable, he was so approachable, now you get the impression that things are very different. And for me, that's telling. I don't feel for a minute that means come September Manchester United are going to have a new manager. But it does seem that the pressure is starting to get to him.
That's true indeed. Definitely something changing in his demeanor there. But if we know Jose Mourinho, he is quite the fighter and he is very stubborn himself. So I would be surprised to see if September he's still not there at Man United. We've got Xhaka Hislop here with me, getting ready to tackle some rumors in transfer rates. And now these are just in general, not necessarily this January transfer window. One that we've been hearing about a lot, Xhaka. Danny Rose to Manchester United. Makes sense, right?
It certainly does. I think this makes a whole lot of sense. Rose critical of Pochettino earlier this season, back in the team, features. I think it also fills a huge void that Manchester United have and need to address.
Well, Arsenal probably need to start looking for some reinforcements, and Aubameyang did make it known that he was interested in a move away from Dortmund. So would this move to Arsenal be a hit or a miss?
Well, speculation about Aubameyang was that he signed a new contract a couple of months ago, then he came out and said no, it's still sitting on the table. Aubameyang to Arsenal makes a lot of sense as a replacement for Alexis Sanchez. I think he wants out. I also think he brings the pace that Arsenal would lose with Alexis Sanchez. It also would go some way to appeasing the fans after losing such a big name like Alexis Sanchez. Still not quite the Alexis Sanchez on that level, but I think it comes very close.
Now, this one may make a couple of people roll their eyes, but it's not that far-fetched, especially since Cristiano Ronaldo has been showing signs of slowing down. So would a move away from Real Madrid, wherever it is, be good for both him and the club?
I think no. And just because I believe that Ronaldo's legacy will forever be linked to the Bernabeu. And I understand everything that he did at Old Trafford. I understand how close he still feels to the club, and say Alex Ferguson in particular. But while Jose Mourinho is still in charge, I don't see Ronaldo making that leap again to work under Jose Mourinho. And I'm just be a little bit stubborn. Never mind what everything that everybody says, including Ronaldo. I just feel he's going to stay at the Bernabeu, despite his relationship with Florentino Perez, for the long term.
All right, staying in Spain, or actually speaking of Manchester City, not many would argue that they need a lot of reinforcements, but they do have injuries that they have to contend with. Umtiti, would that be a hit or a miss?
I don't see this happening at all. A couple of reasons. When Barcelona was struggling last season, Umtiti came out and said something rather ridiculous about we prefer the way we play now than when Guardiola played, and just had the... I thought that was just kind of silly and self-serving, in all honesty. I also think that Umtiti's is far too important for Barcelona for them to even contemplate letting him go. I'm going to put that down as a miss.
And finally to this one, which is of some importance to you, Shaka, because it has to do with West Ham. Theo Walcott at Arsenal, he's been linked with a move going back to where it all began for him at Southampton. But would West Ham be a good fit for him?
Not for me, no.
Killed that then.
I mean, we've been waiting for, what, 10 years for Theo Walcott to deliver on his promise. I just don't see that happening. I also don't feel that it's a good fit. Certainly not West Ham right now. So unless there's a major overhaul in the summer, which I don't anticipate, I don't see how he fits West Ham in this team. I'm putting that down as a miss.
Not to West Ham right now. You'd probably not take Theo Walcott right now. Maybe 5, 6 years ago, possibly. But if I were West Ham, I'd take all I could get. No, I went there, Shaka. Sorry. Thanks so much to Shaka himself. We'll continue tracking all of these rumors to see if they happen or not here.
At his press conference today, what he made of Mourinho saying that he doesn't act like a clown on the touchline, unlike some. And well, people thought he was referring to Antonio Conte. That's what he said. I think that he has to see himself in the past. Maybe he was speaking about himself in the past. Sometimes I think there is, I don't know the name, senile dementia, when you're a bit, then he taps his head, when you forget what you do in the past. By the way, Chelsea came out afterwards and said he didn't mean senile dementia, he meant amnesia. Jose Mourinho responded just now to that quote by saying, I don't need the Chelsea manager to say I made mistakes in the past and will in the future. What I will say is I will never be banned for match fixing. Oh, wow. Oops. Happy New Year, Jose Mourinho. Gab, just put this into context for us.
Yeah, so what he's referring to, and by the way, Conte wasn't actually banned for match fixing. He was banned for failing to report an attempt at match fixing. Just to be clear and lawyerly on this, but it happened when he was at Siena in Serie B. They had already clinched promotion to Serie A, and one of his players allegedly says that, he said, all right, well, we don't have much to play for here, so let's just take it easy on them. Because this match will probably end up a draw. That's what he's accused of saying, and he never reported it to the authorities. But it's obvious that these two are getting under each other's skin, and the 2017-18 Premier League season is turning into the year of managers behaving badly and rather like kids.
Indeed. Mourinho take it too far?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, surely, I would imagine, I don't know what the legal ramifications are going to be from Antonio Conte's side and Chelsea's side on this kind of remark. I mean, surely if there's nothing to hide from the Italians' point of view, then he has to go after the Manchester United manager for those kind of insinuations, surely.
What I would say is that, in general, if you're a manager and now you're matched up with Jose Mourinho, the one thing that you don't want to do with him is go into the media with him, because in that arena, he is the best in the world. He manipulates the press conference. He manipulates the information better than anybody else. And when it comes to a back and forth through the media, nobody better than Jose Mourinho. So if I'm Antonio Conte, I leave it. I leave it alone because I have nothing to gain from this.
Stevie?
If I'm a grown adult, I leave it. Never mind who it is or how good they are or how bad they are in the media. This is absolute child's play. And it's...
But who leaves it? Mourinho leaves it now, or Conte leaves it?
Both of them. What,
You can't have somebody come in a press conference and accused you
Well, that's
of
what I'm
match
saying.
fixing,
What
what would you do?
No, I'm just telling you that both of them should keep their mouth shut.
So what? But
So you try to say, oh, well, if he says that, then you can come back and say that.
But that horse is already bolted.
It doesn't matter. Listen,
we're not talking
it
about-
makes absolutely no difference.
It does.
These two managers have got enough on the plate with what's going on at the football clubs, with what's going on in on the football field.
Correct.
To start insulting each other, and regardless of who starts it,
You're calling
they should
into-
know better, and they should keep the trap shut and get on with the game.
You've now potentially gone beyond that, and are now calling into question professionalism and integrity. And I don't think if you are guilty, if you're innocent of any of these, you can stand by and say, I'm just going to let this go because somebody has allegedly or insinuated that I'm a match fixer.
I agree that Jose Mourinho has crossed the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has crossed the line.
Potentially.
But what I would...
Conte's not crossed the line.
Gab, go on, Gab.
This match-fixing distinction, I just want to be clear here. He was banned for 8 months, subsequently reduced to 4 months, for failure to report match-fixing in his own team. I mean, look, we're going to get into sort of semantics here, and this is what happens when grown men behave like kids. Because, you know, the line from Chelsea was that, of course, well, he said senile dementia, but he meant amnesia, which, of course, is a bit different.
We know the difficulty for the next season, and for sure we want to try to avoid the Mourinho season in Chelsea.
A word in the ear. Oh, to be a fly on Conte's shoulder there.
To become like an enemy.
But I'm not going to lose my hair to speak about Antonio Conte.
Well, there's plenty going on down in the technical area, I can tell you that.
I shook hands with the people that was there. I feel that I did my duty. I cannot go and run to chase him. I cannot.
We shake the hand for 2 times. I think it's enough. It's enough. Yes, it's enough.
Conte was asked what he made of Mourinho saying that he doesn't act like a clown on the touchline, unlike some.
He has to see himself in the past. There is demenza senile when you are when you forget what do you do in the past. You understand?
What never happened to me and will never happen is to be suspended for match fixing. That never happened to me and will never happen.
He was a little man in the past, and he is a little man in the present, and maybe he will be a little man also in the future. Thank you, Italian.
Thank you.
Article on our website right now. Perhaps the people watching this video have read it. The first line of that article I want to read to you. The most emotionally intense matches in English football have been FA Cup games between Liverpool and Everton. That's from the article's author, Tony Evans. Is he right?
I'm not arguing with that.
Why?
Well, I was involved in them. I know exactly what he's talking about. Sometimes things that happen off the field become more important than what happens on it. And 2 of those games that Tony talks about really do speak for that. One was a year after Heysel, when Juventus fans lost their life. And of course, one was, 6 weeks after the Hillsborough tragedy. So no, I don't think there's ever been any FA Cup games that have carried as much importance as those 2 in particular.
Let's look at the FA Cup kind of as a whole. There's a saying, the magic of the cup. And then a lot of people will tell you the magic of the cup has disappeared. Do you believe it's disappeared? Is the FA Cup less relevant today than it was when you played?
I think the question should be, is it relevant?
At all?
I mean, when you've got teams, the so-called elite teams putting out a reserve side up until, the semi-final, What does that tell you about the tournament? What does that tell you about how important that tournament is to those clubs? And the fact is, until you get to the semi-final, it's not important whatsoever.
How did we get to this place? How did the FA Cup lose its value?
The Champions League. You know, the fact that you can finish fourth in the top tier of English football, and that is more important than winning the FA Cup, is why the FA Cup is irrelevant. It's all about money. Unfortunately, the money side of it has taken over the glory, if you wish, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
The Premier League sides join in the third round. There are no non-league clubs in this third round. First time that's happened in, I think, like 70 years. That certainly hurt some of the hope for the Magic, right?
Yeah, but
those are the stories that, as a neutral, I fall in love with.
But you're still going to have lower league teams who are capable of taking on some of the big boys, if indeed they do, and when they do play the reserve side. So there will still be some of that magic for the lower league sides. But for the Premier League sides, for the Premier League, for the supporters of the Premier League teams, you know, why are you going to go and watch the reserve team playing?
It's a good question. It's a jam-packed FA Cup slate this weekend. Here's hoping it produces at least a little magic.
Unfair, and I told that at half-time. I didn't like what I did. Unfair. He didn't deserve. He was playing well. He was not playing bad. He had a couple of miss possession, but he was playing well. He was giving good dynamic to the team. My feeling was just that Rashford is not going to score a goal. In the moment he's not going to score a goal, and because of that I'm not going to lose time, and I'm going to play Romelu. And then I had to sacrifice a player, and was Mickey the one that I sacrificed. But it's something that I normally don't do. But I did at half-time. I apologize to him in front of the people because he didn't deserve. Tonight, I think it's very soon. It's very soon for him. But we must be pleased because his physical condition is good. And he has started to have the train session with us to understand our idea of football. Yeah, I think that we must be pleased. I'm very positive because the player is a good guy. He's showing great will to work, great desire to help us very soon. And yeah, I think this is very, very positive, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy to have Ross with us for the rest of the season.
Anything you have said about him?
I have this look, a person that regret. I don't think so. Yeah, but I think we both said the things, and we'll see what happens in the future. He said a serious words. He used the serious words, and I won't forget this. This is not a problem from the club. This is a problem between me and him. I stop. To see himself in the past. Maybe he was speaking about himself in the past. Maybe sometimes I think that someone forget what said in the past or what which is his behaviors. You understand? And sometimes I think that there is I don't know the name, but demenza senile, when you are a bit come si dice demenza senile? It's very difficult, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When are you?
I don't think there's.
Forget what do you do in the past? You understand? This yeah. Okay.
There isn't an English word for that, but we'll just do one more.